evening and welcome. Tonight I'm going to be reading to you this book about Jordan. Jordan. There's a big picture of Petra on the cover. Let's get started. Oh, and I do have my pointer pencil with me. Let's see. An overview of Jordan. The Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan is located in southwest Asia. Once part of the Ottoman Empire and then known as Transjordan while under British rule, Jordan became fully independent in 1946. Although this relatively young nation has faced many struggles and obstacles, most notably economic difficulties and regional hostilities, it has emerged to become one of the most stable countries in the Middle East. Jordan's ethnically diverse Arab population and a small number of minorities contribute to the nation's rich culture. The country also boasts archaeological ruins of civilizations that date back over 2,000 years. Geography. Jordan has an area of 35,637 square miles. The country borders Syria to the north, Iraq to the northeast, Saudi Arabia to the east and south, and Israel and the West Bank to the west. Almost completely landlocked, Jordan has only 16 miles of coastline on the Gulf of Aqaba, which is located in the southwestern part of the country. The Syrian Desert. Eastern and southern Jordan are dominated by the Syrian or North Arabian Desert, which occupies about 4/5 of this area. The northern part of this desert region is covered with volcanic lava, basalt, and sand, rendering the land unfit for agriculture. The southern part of this region consists of sandstone and granite outcroppings. The uplands. West of the Syrian Desert and east of the Jordan River are the country's uplands, averaging between 2,000 and 3,000 feet in elevation. The uplands are home to most of the country's population and many of its major urban areas, including Irbid, Azarqa, and Amman, the capital city. Jabal Ram, the country's highest point at 5,689 feet, is located in the southern part of this region. Valley streams and riverbeds crisscross the uplands and eventually flow into the Jordan River. Jordan Valley. The Jordan Valley forms part of the Great Rift Valley, which extends southward into the heart of Africa. Located along the western part of the country, the valley is flanked by steep slopes. Much of the valley falls below sea level, reaching its lowest point at the Dead Sea in the central area of the valley. North of the Dead Sea, the valley contains Jordan's most fertile land. In contrast, the area south of the Dead Sea is hot and dry. Wadi al-Araba, south of the Dead Sea, gradually rises to reach sea level and is believed to contain mineral resources. Climate. Jordan's climate experiences regional variations. Temperatures in the western part of the country are similar to those experienced along the Mediterranean coast due to the proximity of the Mediterranean Sea, while eastern and southern Jordan have a desert climate. Summer temperatures in the capital city of Amman average 79 degrees Fahrenheit, while winter temperatures fall to 46 degrees Fahrenheit. In the far south of the country, summer temperatures are higher, reaching about 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and winter temperatures drop to 61 degrees Fahrenheit. As precipitation falls only during the country's short winter, Jordan is extremely arid. The northwestern part of the country receives the most rainfall, averaging 16 inches a year. In contrast, southern Jordan and the country's desert regions receive less than 4 inches and 2 inches of rain a year, respectively. The uplands east of the Jordan River receive about 14 inches of rain a year, and snow and frost also occur there during winter. Plants and animals. Jordan's once abundant plant and animal life has been significantly reduced due to overhunting, the spread of human settlement, and the destruction of natural habitats. Covering 1% of the country, forests and woodlands are found between the city of Amman and the Syrian border. Trees in this region include oaks, pines, and pistachios. Olive, eucalyptus, and cedar trees abound throughout the country's uplands and the Jordan Valley. In the country's desert regions, several species of acacia trees and grasses can be found. Shrubs also thrive in Jordan's arid climate. Many plant species and flowers flourish in Jordan, including the black iris, the country's national flower. Jordan is home to a variety of animal species, including hyenas, gazelles, wildcats, wolves, foxes, and mongooses. Since many animal species in Jordan are now endangered, nature reserves have been established throughout the country to protect the country's valuable wildlife. Preservation programs have successfully reintroduced the endangered Arabian oryx back into the country and increased the populations of endangered species such as Nubian ibex and roe deer through captive breeding programs. History. Occupying part of the area historically known as Palestine, the land that now makes up Jordan was the site of some of the earliest human settlements known to archaeologists, dating back to early Paleolithic times. Kingdoms and empires. By the 13th century BCE, various kingdoms had emerged in present-day Jordan, including Amman in the north, Moab in the center, and Edom in the south. Following the exodus from Egypt, the Israelites moved gradually across this region and, under the leadership of King David, gained control of most of the area around 1000 BCE. With the death of David around 960 BCE, the kingdoms of Amman, Moab, and Edom reasserted their independence. In the 9th century BCE, the Assyrians conquered the eastern part of the country as far as Edom. The Babylonian Empire rose to power with the fall of the Assyrian Empire in 612 BCE. Under Cyrus II, the Persians ended the rule of the Babylonians in 539 BCE. After the death of Alexander the Great, who had conquered and established control over the region in 332 BCE, the Seleucids and the Ptolemies fought for control of the territory. Although the Seleucids emerged victorious in 198 BCE, the hostilities between the two kingdoms enabled the Nabateans, who had gradually settled into areas in the southern part of the country, to strengthen and expand their kingdom northward. By 63 BCE, the Nabatean kingdom had been conquered by the Romans. The kingdom, however, retained its independence until 106 CE, when it became part of the Roman province known as Arabia Petraea. Trade and architecture flourished in the area, and Christianity became a recognized religion. When the Roman Empire was divided in 395, the area consisting of present-day Jordan became part of the Byzantine Empire. From the arrival of Islam to Ottoman rule. In 636, Arab Muslims from the Arabian Peninsula invaded the lands in the north, bringing the religion of Islam with them. For the next 300 years, the area was ruled first by the Umayyad and then by the Abbasid dynasties. Following the third military expedition of the Crusades, Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, also known as Saladin, founded the Ayyubid dynasty, which ruled much of the region. By 1250, the Mamluks had conquered the territories of the Ayyubids. They in turn were defeated by the Ottoman Turks in 1517, and the area now known as Jordan became part of the Ottoman Empire for the next 400 years. From the Ottoman Empire to Transjordan. The period of Ottoman rule was a time of stagnation. The Turks regarded the area primarily as a route for Islamic pilgrimages to the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia, and neglected the development of the area's infrastructure and economy. Resentment toward the Turkish emperors increased, and, during World War I, Hussein ibn Ali, king of Hejaz, now a region in Saudi Arabia, and his sons, Abdullah and Faisal, led a revolt against Ottoman rule. Aided by the British, the revolt helped lead to the downfall of the Ottoman Empire. Following World War I, the area making up present-day Jordan and Israel was called the British Mandate of Palestine. The British divided the mandate into two parts, designating all lands west of the Jordan River as Palestine and those east of the river as Transjordan. In 1921, Abdullah was named Emir or ruler of Transjordan. The birth of a nation. Transjordan gained its full independence on March 22, 1946, and Abdullah proclaimed himself king on May 25th. The name of the country was changed to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan in 1949. In 1948, Jordan, along with its Arab neighbors, attacked the newly formed State of Israel, sparking the First Arab-Israeli War. Jordanian troops occupied the Palestinian areas known as the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Despite opposition from other Arab nations, Jordan formally annexed these lands in 1950. Following the Jordan-Israel Armistice of April 3, 1949, in 1951, King Abdullah was assassinated. He was succeeded by his son Talal. Talal, however, was declared unfit to rule, and his eldest son Hussein became king after turning 18 on May 2, 1953. Throughout the 1950s and early 1960s, King Hussein faced problems of economic development and internal security, plus tensions with other Arab nations and Israel. In the mid-1960s, Palestinian guerrillas launched raids against Israel from within Jordan, for which Jordan suffered Israeli reprisals. As a result, relations between Jordan and Egypt and Syria, both of which supported the raids, deteriorated. Arab-Israeli tensions also continued to mount, and the Arab-Israeli War, known as the Six-Day War, broke out in June 1967. Jordan, which sided with Egypt and Syria, suffered heavy casualties and the loss of the West Bank to Israel. The country's refugee population also swelled, as over 300,000 Palestinians fled eastward across the Jordan River. Jordan today. By 1970, tensions between King Hussein and various Palestinian guerrilla organizations operating within Jordan had escalated, leading King Hussein to declare martial law in September 1970. Civil war ensued between the Jordanian army and Palestinian guerrillas supported by Syria. Peace was restored following an agreement between King Hussein and PLO leader Yasser Arafat. In the negotiations that followed the Arab-Israeli War of 1973, King Hussein revoiced his demand for the return of the West Bank and East Jerusalem to Jordan. Relations between Jordan and Israel deteriorated with the election in 1997 of Menachem Begin as Israeli Prime Minister, and ties between the two countries were virtually severed until 1984. Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in 1990 and the subsequent Persian Gulf War strained Jordan's ties with Kuwait and its allies. King Hussein criticized coalition efforts to expel Iraqi forces during the war, mainly because many Jordanians supported Iraq. By late 1991, however, Jordan was actively involved in American-Israeli peace initiatives, and 3 years later, Jordan and Israel signed a full peace agreement that ended 46 years of war and strained relations between the two countries. King Hussein died in 1999 and was succeeded by his son Abdullah. Government and the economy. Jordan is a constitutional monarchy with a representative government that consists of legislative, executive, and judicial branches. The National Assembly is a bicameral parliament, or two-part legislative body, that consists of the House of Deputies and the Senate. The House of Deputies is made up of 80 members elected directly by the Jordanian voters. Members of the House of Deputies serve 4-year terms. The Senate is made up of 40 members who are appointed to 4-year terms by the king. The country's monarch holds the posts of head of state, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and chief executive. The king appoints the prime minister. The prime minister then selects a cabinet of ministers that is approved by the king. Both the prime minister and his cabinet must be approved by the lower house of parliament, the House of Deputies. The king exercises his executive authority through the prime minister and the cabinet, called the Council of Ministers. Jordan's judicial system is independent from its legislative and executive branches. The country has 3 categories of courts: civil, religious, and special. Although the king approves the appointment and dismissal of judges, the judges are supervised by the Higher Judicial Council. Based on French law, Jordan's civil courts deal with civil and criminal cases. Magistrate courts are the lowest in the civil system, while the Court of Cassation is the country's highest civil court. The country's religious courts consist of Sharia courts that administer Islamic law and the courts of non-Muslim communities. These religious courts deal with cases involving marriage, divorce, inheritance, and child custody. Several courts deal with cases that are outside the jurisdiction of regular courts. For example, the State Security Court handles cases related to national security. Composed of both military and civilian judges, this court can try both military personnel and civilians. Local government. Jordan is divided into 12 governorates, or administrative divisions. These governorates are divided into districts and sub-districts, each of which is governed by an official who is appointed by the Minister of the Interior. Economy. Since Jordan became an independent country, its economy has struggled with the shifting of its borders in 1967, severe water shortages, and expanding refugee population and massive foreign debt. Nevertheless, the country's economy has developed significantly over the years, due mainly to foreign subsidies from both Arab and Western nations. In an attempt to encourage economic growth, King Abdullah II has introduced limited economic reforms, including the partial privatization of some state-owned businesses and the nation's entry into the World Trade Organization, or WTO, in 2000. Despite these measures, Jordan's economy is still plagued by ongoing economic problems of debt, high unemployment, and poverty, with 30% of the population living in poverty. Jordan is traditionally an agricultural nation. With the Israeli occupation of the West Bank in 1967, however, Jordan lost much of its richest agricultural land. Today, only 3% of Jordan's total land area is under cultivation. Most of the cultivated area is in the Jordan Valley, where the irrigated land is used to grow fruits and vegetables, including grapes, melons, citrus fruits, tomatoes, and cucumbers. Grains, mainly wheat and barley, are the major crops produced in the country's uplands. Sheep and goats are the most important types of livestock, and they are raised for both milk and meat. Jordan has large deposits of mineral resources such as potash, phosphates, limestone, marble, and salt. Minerals that have been discovered in Jordan in recent years include barite, quartzite, and gypsum. Although the nation has deposits of copper, uranium, and shale oil, these remain largely unexploited. As Jordan does not have any petroleum deposits, the country relies on Iraqi oil exports to satisfy its energy requirements. Over 99% of the country's power needs are met by fossil fuels, with hydroelectricity accounting for the remainder. The mining of phosphates is Jordan's largest industry and export earner. Other major industries include petroleum refining, cement production, and light manufacturing. Jordan's exports consist mainly of phosphates, fertilizers, potash, agricultural products, and manufactured goods. Its imports include crude oil, machinery, food, animals, and transportation equipment. The country's main export markets include India, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and the United States. Imports come mainly from Iraq, Germany, the United States, Japan, and the United Kingdom. The value of Jordan's imports greatly exceeds the value of its exports. This deficit is offset by foreign subsidies, grants, tourism, and remittances from Jordanian workers abroad. People and lifestyle. 98% of Jordan's population is Arab and can be divided into three main groups: Transjordanians, or East Bank Jordanians, Palestinian Arabs, and the Bedouin. The remaining 2% is made up of various ethnic groups. Transjordanians are the group that has always lived east of the Jordan River and were settled in the area prior to 1948. Making up a large percentage of Jordan's population, Palestinian Arabs are either refugees of the Arab-Israeli Wars and the Persian Gulf War, or moved to Jordan from the West Bank when the West Bank was part of Jordan. Although the Jordanian government has granted full citizenship to many of these Palestinians, issues over identity have arisen, especially since 1974, when many Arab nations, including Jordan, acknowledged that the Palestinians were a separate people and were entitled to an independent state of their own. As a result, many Palestinians in Jordan today consider themselves first as Palestinians and second as Jordanians. The Bedouin are often regarded as the indigenous people of the area that makes up Jordan, and a large portion of the country's population is of Bedouin origin. Nomadic and semi-nomadic Bedouin generally live in the country's desert regions, but can also be found in some areas of the uplands and Jordan Valley. Many Bedouin, however, have settled in villages and towns across the country. The Bedouin form the backbone of Jordan's army, occupying key military positions, and are extremely loyal to the royal family. They also play a prominent role in the political, economic, and social life of Jordan. Minority groups. Jordan is also home to a number of ethnic groups that have integrated into Jordanian society. Of these groups, the Circassians are the largest. Living mainly in Jordan cities such as Amman, the Circassians are non-Arab Islamic people. They are descendants of Muslim refugees who were settled in the Jordan area by the Ottomans at the end of the 19th century. Other minority groups include Armenians and Chechens. Family life. The family is the center of Jordanian life. Families tend to be close-knit and rely on one another during hard times. Extended family members usually live in the same neighborhoods or areas. Traditionally, the father is the decision-maker, while the mother is expected to stay at home and look after the children. Children are cherished in Jordanian society, and most families have 3 or 4 children. The birth of a child is a joyous occasion, and it is tradition for the mother's family to provide the child's first clothes and furniture. Parents make many sacrifices to ensure that their children have the best possible family life and the best available education. In Jordanian families, the elderly are generally well respected. Urban and rural lifestyles. About 3/4 of the Jordanian population lives in the country's cities such as Amman, the largest city, Azarqa, and Irbid. In urban areas, almost all houses and apartments, which are made of stone masonry or cement, have electricity and access to water supplies. About 17% of the refugees registered with the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, live in crowded refugee camps set up by the agency outside of the country's main cities. Most rural Jordanians live in villages and have homes built of stone and mud or concrete. Many villagers grow crops and raise goats and chickens. Other villagers work in construction and mining. Rural life is harsh, and a few areas of the countryside still do not have electricity or water mains. Weddings. Getting married is the most important event in a Jordanian's lifetime, and weddings are major social events. Weddings are grand affairs, and in terms of cost, they are second only to buying a home. As a result, many Jordanian men from low and middle-income families do not marry until they reach their 30s because they cannot afford to marry sooner. Traditionally, however, Jordanians get married when they are in their 20s. Most couples meet through family introductions. Meetings are usually arranged by the female members of the bride's or groom's families. At the time of marriage, the bride receives a mahr, or dowry, from the groom. The woman can spend, save, or remit the dowry as she chooses. The amount sent for the mahr varies according to family circumstances. Education. Jordan has made significant steps in education in recent decades, and educational opportunities are now available to all Jordanians. As a result, the country's population is well educated, and at 87%, the nation has one of the highest literacy rates in the Middle East. Education is free for all elementary and high school students who go to government schools. Most Jordanian children attend government-run schools, but the country does have a number of privately owned schools. All Jordanians must attend school between the ages of 6 and 15. Education beyond 10th grade is optional, but open to all. Secondary education, which lasts for 2 years, is divided into 2 main streams. One stream consists of a core curriculum plus optional specialized academic or vocational courses that ends with a tawjihi, a general secondary education exam. Students who take the academic stream and pass the tawjihi can then attend a university. Those who pass the vocational stream can go to one of the country's community colleges. The program of this stream consists of vocational courses that prepare skilled laborers through apprenticeship programs. Schools for refugees. Jordan's refugee population has access to schools that are run by the UNRWA. UNRWA-run schools, however, are facing an increasing number of difficulties. The schools suffer from overcrowding, poor facilities, and a lack of extracurricular activities to offer students. In addition, almost all UNRWA-run schools in Jordan operate on double shifts to meet the growing demand for education among refugee students. Higher education. Founded in 1962, the University of Jordan is the country's oldest university. Other universities, including several that are private, are located in Irbid and Mutah. Jordan's community colleges offer courses in education, hotel management, computer studies, commerce, nursing, and midwifery. The Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education supervises all schools and the training of teachers. The ministry also sets a curricula for all Jordanian schools, whether public or private. Subjects covered in these curricula include Arabic, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, social science, geography, history, religion, and English. Religion. Islam is the official religion of Jordan. 92% of the population belongs to the Sunni branch of Islam, but the country also has a small number of Shiite Muslims. All Muslims believe in one God, Allah, and that Muhammad was his prophet. Unlike Shiite Muslims who regard Muhammad's direct descendants as the only legitimate leaders of the Islamic world, Sunni Muslims accept other claims to leadership. The 5 Pillars. The Islamic faith has 5 principles that are known as the 5 Pillars of Islam. Every Muslim is expected to follow these principles. The first principle is the Declaration of Faith. A Muslim performs by reciting, "There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger." The second principle is to pray to Allah 5 times a day, while the third involves donating money to the poor and needy. The fourth principle involves fasting during daylight hours for 1 month during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. The fifth principle requires every Muslim to make a pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia once in his or her lifetime. Mosques. Mosques, or Muslim houses of worship, are found throughout Jordan. All mosques have separate worshiping areas for men and women. Men worship at the front of the mosque, while women pray either at the back or on a mezzanine, which is also at the rear of the mosque. Mosques serve not only as places of worship, they are also communal meeting places. After Friday prayers, people usually stay at their local mosque to meet distant relatives and friends and to chat and exchange news. Other faiths. 6% of Jordanians are Christian, and they are free to practice their religion. Most of the country's Christians live in the cities of Amman, Karak, Madaba, and Salt. The majority of Jordanian Christians belong to the Greek Orthodox Church. Other Christian communities include Greek Catholics, who recognize the supremacy of the Pope, Roman Catholics, who are led by a patriarch appointed by the Pope, as well as members of the Syrian Orthodox and Armenian Orthodox churches. A few Protestant denominations are also present in Jordan. Language and literature. The official language of Jordan is Arabic. Arabic is even used by the country's ethnic groups that primarily speak their own languages. Arabic is an ancient language, and many different dialects exist throughout the Arab world. English is also widely spoken by the upper and middle classes. Arabic belongs to the Semitic group of languages, which also includes Hebrew, the Israeli language, and Amharic, one of the main languages of Ethiopia. Spoken Arabic is known as Ami, and written or classical Arabic is called Fusha. Classical Arabic is used for official and literary purposes. Arabic script is written and read from right to left and consists of 28 letters. The script is based on 18 distinct shapes that vary depending on whether they are at the beginning, middle, or end of a word. By placing diacritics above and below 8 of these shapes, 28 letters can be written. Spoken Arabic contains many guttural sounds. Literature. Jordanian literature began to develop in the 20th century. Since then, the country has produced a number of literary figures who, in their works, have tackled themes such as love, honor, generosity, hospitality, exile, political turmoil, war, lost territories, and lost identities. Mustafa Wabi et al., commonly known as Arar, is widely recognized as Jordan's most prominent poet and ranks among the major Arab poets of the 20th century. For his poems, he drew on Arab oral traditions, particularly local ones, and was also inspired by Romani prose. Mahmoud Saif ad-Din al-Irani was the pioneer of short stories in Arabic. His stories deal with the social conditions within Jordanian society, particularly those of the poor, and the inseparability of Jordanian and Palestinian cultures. The innovative novel, You Sense Today by Taysir Spool, is a groundbreaking piece of Jordanian literature that deals with the human tragedy experienced after the Arab-Israeli War of 1967. One contemporary Jordanian female writer is Diana Abu Jaber. Abu Jaber divided her time between the United States and Jordan while growing up, and her first novel, Arabian Jazz, touches on the complex issues faced by a first-generation Arab-American family whose former homeland is Jordan. Arts. Jordan's arts reflect the country's rich history and its deeply rooted Arab cultures. Throughout the centuries, Jordanian arts have flourished, and they remain important. Architecture. Jordan is home to many architectural treasures that reflect the country's past. The ruins of the ancient cities of Petra and Jerash date back to the nation's Nabatean and Roman eras. With the emergence of the country's various Muslim rulers, Islamic architecture became dominant. As Islamic architecture developed, architects combined styles to create magnificent buildings and mosques. Today, many Jordanian buildings, both old and new, have matching exteriors because buildings are required to be faced with local stone. Calligraphy. Calligraphy, the art of elegant handwriting, has flourished in Jordan for centuries and is an extremely popular art form. The styles of calligraphy used in Jordan range from square and elongated scripts to cursive scripts. Among favorite calligraphic scripts are Kufik, an elongated script that emphasizes square rather than rounded elements of the Arabic script, and Thuluth, an elaborate and ornamental form of cursive script. Calligraphic inscriptions are used in abundance to decorate mosques, buildings, and everyday objects such as plates and vases. Calligraphic inscriptions usually consist of poems or verses from the Quran. Traditional handicrafts. Jordan's traditional handicrafts take many forms. These crafts include the colorful embroidery that adorns traditional garments, cushions, and quilts, and the mother-of-pearl work that decorates plaques, picture frames, and trinket boxes. Intricate silver work and the metalwork that produces brass and copper coffee pots and other household items are also popular. The country's Bedouin community is famous for its thick, beautifully woven rugs. Traditionally made by Bedouin women, the rugs are woven on looms using sheep's and camel's wool. The women color the yarn with natural dyes made from plants. Each rug has a unique design of colorful stripes and shapes. Music. Jordan's musical heritage includes styles ranging from folk music to pop music, all of which blend traditional instruments and rhythms to create unique sounds. A wide variety of instruments are used in traditional Jordanian music. The oud is a short-necked lute made of wood. It is played by plucking its strings and produces a deep, mellow sound. A highly expressive wind instrument, the ney, is a reed flute that is used widely to perform Jordanian classical music. Another popular instrument is the qanun, which resembles a zither. This many-stringed instrument sits on the player's knees or on a table and is plucked with the fingernails. Small hand drums are important percussion instruments. Another widely used percussion instrument is the duff. Shaped like a tambourine, the duff produces a soft, deep tone. Dances. Jordanians love to dance, and the country boasts many local and regional dances. A popular dance performed at weddings and other happy occasions is the debka. Usually accompanied by a single drum, it is traditionally performed by members of the same sex. The dancers stand in a line and sneak their way around the dance floor. An exciting and energetic dance, the debka is characterized by the stomping of feet and the clapping of hands. Different versions of this dance are performed throughout the country. The saja is a well-known Bedouin dance, during which dancers act out heroic stories of the past. Jordan's Circassians also perform a variety of dances that have been inspired by their cultural heritage. Formed in 1950, the Al-Jil Al-Jadid Circassian Folklore Troupe promotes the community's dances. The troupe performs the sword dance and other Cossack dances across Jordan and overseas. Theater. First emerging in the early 20th century, Jordanian plays tend to reflect social and political trends, often portraying people's lives or events that have had a great impact on the region. The Royal Cultural Center, located in Amman, promotes Jordan's rich traditions in the form of theater, music, and dance, all of which are performed in the center's 2 halls. Leisure and festivals. With Jordan's struggling economy, most Jordanians have difficulties making ends meet. Therefore, they do not have much money to spend on pastimes. Consequently, most leisure activities revolve around family and friends. Social get-togethers celebrating a special occasion, such as a wedding or the return of a family member from abroad, are a major form of entertainment. At these events, there is invariably much singing and dancing. Going on picnics is another favorite Jordanian pastime. Jordanian family picnics typically take place in gardens, parks, or countrysides, and the most popular picnic meal is barbecued kebabs. Storytelling, dancing, and socializing are also popular pastimes. Jordanians enjoy visiting their friends to chat and exchange news. Jordan's larger cities offer more forms of entertainment. Young Jordanians enjoy meeting up with friends and eating out at restaurants that specialize in local, Middle Eastern, Western, and Asian cuisines. Movies are extremely popular, particularly with young Jordanians. Wealthier Jordanians also enjoy going to theaters, such as the Royal Cultural Theater in Amman. Radio and television are available throughout Jordan. Television stations provide Arabic entertainment and news, as well as foreign language programs in English and French. Favorite locally produced programs include serial dramas that deal with themes such as love and honor, and dramatic shows with religious themes. Reruns of soap operas and comedy shows from the West are also popular. Many well-to-do households also own video recorders. Wow. Jordanian men spend time in coffee houses where they drink coffee, talk, and listen to music. Playing board games is also a popular way for men to spend their free time. Board games that are played throughout Jordan include backgammon, chess, and shutarunj, a game similar to checkers and chess. Children's games. Jordanian children love playing outdoor games. Some of the games they enjoy playing have been handed down from generation to generation. One such game is hajli, which is a local variation of hopscotch. Jordanian boys also like to play kalul, or marbles. Sports. Jordanians enjoy a wide range of sports and are passionate supporters of their local and international sports teams. The country has a number of local sports facilities, including sports centers and outdoor playing fields. Soccer is undoubtedly the most popular sport in Jordan, and the game is played at local, regional, and national levels. Favorite teams include Al Wadat and Al Faisali, both of which compete in the country's Premier League. Jordan's national team has performed well in the international soccer scene and narrowly missed qualifying for the World Cup Championship in 2002. Another favorite sport in Jordan is horse racing. The Royal Jordanian Equestrian Federation regularly participates in international competitions and hosts events such as endurance races, show jumping events, and horse shows. The country has produced a number of athletes who excel in equestrian events, including Princess Haya bint Al Hussein. Princess Haya has represented her country in international equestrian competition since the 1990s, winning a bronze medal in the Pan-Arab Games held in Damascus, Syria in 1992, as well as competing in the 2000 Olympic Games held in Sydney, Australia. In recent years, Jordanians have performed well in gymnastics. In 2001, two Jordanian gymnasts, Yasmin Khair and Nancy Mefla, were awarded bronze medals in balance beam events at the Swedish Gymnastics Championship. Jordan also placed first in the 2001 Amman International Gymnastics Championship. Martial arts are popular among Jordanians, particularly Taekwondo and Karate, and the country has many martial arts clubs. Jordan has participated in various international competitions in both disciplines. In 2002, Jordan placed third overall in the 15th Asian Taekwondo Championships, winning 1 gold, 1 silver, and 4 bronze medals. The country's national male and female karate teams placed first and second, respectively, in the 2001 Middle East Championships. First emerging in Jordan in the 1950s, car rallying has become one of the nation's major sports. Probably the most popular race in Jordan is the annual Jordan International Car Rally, which forms part of the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, or FIA, Middle East Rally Championship. The race attracts many international competitors who race to finish long-distance desert routes that have been mapped out by the organizers. Festivals. Jordan celebrates many religious festivals that follow the Islamic lunar calendar. Other Jordanian holidays honor the nation's kings or mark important events in the nation's recent history. Religious festivals. Ramadan, the Islamic month of fasting, is the most important month in the Islamic calendar. During this time, healthy adult Muslims are not allowed to eat, drink, or smoke during daylight hours. Following the sighting of the new moon, Eid al-Fitr, a 3-day festival, celebrates the end of Ramadan. After going to the mosque in the morning to pray, Jordanians visit relatives and friends and entertain guests. Eid al-Adha, the Feast of the Sacrifice, falls in the last month of the Islamic year following the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca known as the Hajj. This festival commemorates Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his only son to God. Each family that can afford to sacrifices a sheep or goat and shares the meat among family, friends, and poorer Muslim families. To Jordan's small community of Shiite Muslims, the first 10 days of the new year are extremely important. This is a period of mourning that commemorates the martyrdom of Hussein, the grandson of Muhammad. Many Shiites choose to fast on the 10th day of this month. National holidays. Jordanians celebrate a number of national holidays. Independence Day, celebrated on May 25th, commemorates the country's break with Britain and its establishment as an independent nation. Jordan celebrates King Abdullah II's ascent to the throne on June 9th and his birthday on January 30th. Both Arab Renaissance Day, honoring the Great Arab Revolt of 1916, and Army Day take place on June 10th. The ascension of the late King Hussein to the Jordanian throne is celebrated on August 11th, and the country also marks the late king's birthday on November 14th. Christian festivals. Because most of Jordan's Christian community is Orthodox, most Christian holidays are celebrated in the country according to the Julian calendar instead of the Gregorian calendar. Nevertheless, Christmas still tends to be celebrated on December 25th. Easter is the most important festival for the Orthodox Church. Food. Jordan's historical and cultural heritage has produced a cuisine that has been influenced greatly by traditional Bedouin cooking and the foods of neighboring countries such as Syria and Lebanon. Many Jordanian dishes are made with lamb, chicken, grains, cheese, fresh and dried fruit, and vegetables. Yogurt, herbs, spices, and nuts are also extremely important to Jordanian cuisine. Their use in a wide range of dishes gives Jordanian cooking much of its distinctive character. The staple food for Jordanians is kubis, a type of bread that is eaten with every meal. Kubis is usually round and flat, but it has a variety of tastes and textures depending on how it is baked. Popular types of kubes include kaik, a round ring of bread covered with sesame seeds, and manakish, or hot bread, moistened with olive oil and covered with thyme. Both sound really good. Jordanians enjoy an assortment of appetizers that include flat Arabic bread, hummus, a paste made from pureed chickpeas, sesame paste, garlic, and lemon juice. Tabbouleh, a salad of chopped parsley, tomatoes, onions, and mint mixed with bulgur wheat and lemon juice, and baba ganoush, a dip consisting of smoked eggplant and sesame paste. Mansaf, a Bedouin specialty, is the country's national dish. It consists of a large platter of seasoned chunks of lamb cooked in a yogurt-based sauce and served with large quantities of rice. Almonds, pine kernels, and other nuts are sprinkled over the dish. Mansaf is mainly served on special occasions such as weddings, birthdays, and anniversaries. Other popular Jordanian dishes include roasted lamb stuffed with rice, chopped onions, nuts, and raisins, stews made with meat, beans, or peas, and vegetables, rice and meat stuffed in vegetables, and chicken or lamb kebabs. A favorite vegetarian dish is mujadara, a mixture of lentils and rice topped with crispy onions. Jordanians have a sweet tooth and enjoy a wide range of rich desserts. Favorite desserts include pastries filled with nuts or cheese and covered with sweet syrup, rose or orange flower scented milk pudding, rice pudding, and ice cream. Jordanians also love fruits including bananas, figs, dates, apricots, and grapes. Okay, so we're going to leave it here for the night because this video is getting kind of long, but I do want to read you this chapter because there's a lot of interesting things in it. So we'll continue this tomorrow. Here we go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a very, very, very good